What is the name of the habitat that you see in this picture? That's right, it's the pond habitat. Have you ever been to a pond before? What are ponds like? What can you do at a pond? What plants or animals can you find in the pond habitat? Today we're going to talk about some of the pictures from the book we read yesterday. Do you remember what an animal's 3 basic needs are? Food, water, and shelter. We've been learning about lots of different animals that live in a pond. We've also been learning about how different animals meet their basic needs in the pond habitat. Point to the beaver in this picture. How do beavers get shelter in the pond habitat? Do you remember what they use their big front teeth for? They make their own shelter by chewing down trees and then dragging the branches to the pond. Then they build a dam or a lodge, which is their home. How do raccoons and blue herons get the food they need to survive in the pond habitat? They stay very still and wait for a fish to swim by, and then they catch it. What animal is this? This is a crayfish. Where is it in the pond habitat in this picture? Is it on top of the water? Is it on the land around the edge of the pond? Where does it live? It lives at the bottom of the pond underwater. Remember, Tobias the turtle showed us how a crayfish lives in the murky pond water where they can't see very well? He told us all about crayfish. How does the crayfish find food to eat if it can't see very well on the bottom of the pond? What part of its body does it use? It uses antennae to feel around for food. Animals in the pond have different ways of meeting their 3 basic needs. Crayfish have antennae to help them feel in the murky water to find food. Raccoons and herons stand very still and catch fish. And beavers build their own shelter using materials they find near the pond. The other day, we also talked about how plants meet their basic needs in the pond habitat. What is the name of the plant right beside the turtle and right behind the fish? Do you remember what that plant is called? That's a water lily. Plants need water, nutrients, sunlight, and air to survive. How does the water lily get nutrients from the soil? Yes, its stem stretches to the bottom of the pond and the roots reach into the soil for nutrients. How does the water lily get air and sunlight? The flowers and lily pads are on the surface of the pond, so they can take in air and sunlight. And last, how does the water lily get water? It uses its roots to soak it up from the pond. All of the plants and animals in the pond habitat have basic needs. They each have different ways of getting the things they need to survive. They all live together in the pond, but each plant and animal has its own way of getting the things it needs to survive. Remember in our story yesterday we heard the word shallow? Say that with me. Shallow. Listen for the word shallow while I read that part of the story. I am feeling warm too, so I think I will get ready to go for a swim in the shallow pond water. I wonder what I'll see when I dive down underwater. Shallow means not very deep. Usually, shallow water is water you can stand up in with your head above the water. Ponds are usually shallow. You could probably stand up in a lot of ponds. Deep is the opposite of shallow. If water is deep, you can't stand up in it. and it goes down very far below the surface. Have you ever been in shallow water before? Have you been in deep water before? What was it like? Could you stand up? Did you have to swim or hold on to something or wear a life jacket? Remember, ponds are usually shallow. That is because they aren't very big. Some ponds are a little deeper than others, but most ponds are pretty shallow.